Mark, welcome to Breaking Biscuits, and today we're going to talk about leading yourself first. So stay tuned. This will be an interesting topic.
Yeah.
So welcome to Breaking Biscuits, the experience. And Mark, we've been on a subject about really like an emotional awareness subject and emotional patterns and those types of things. But today I kind of want to jump into how that segues into leadership. And we called this podcast Leading Yourself First, because I know many times as men we have a desire to lead or be in charge of something, but it really starts within. And I kind of wanted today to really start with the scripture. So in Proverbs 16:32, it says, "Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and who rules his own spirit is better than who takes a city." So the implication there from scripture is that it's just better and more healthy to rule yourself than to even rule a city or to just to be able to rule in any capacity. And I know it kind of fits in with our theme and what we've really been talking about. And when we talk about leadership, our first thought isn't necessarily how do we lead ourselves, it's how do we lead others.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be kind of interesting to talk about what leadership looks like if we lead ourselves. And I think it fits the theme of where we've been. So just off the cuff, like how does that hit you when we talk about leading ourselves and how important that might be?
Well, I think you get lost in trying to be a good leader for everybody else. And our own personal time of reflection and growth, accountability. I think it's a great subject because if you're a leader person, the people under you or with you are going to go at the pace of you.
Right. And this also equates to the home as well, right? Like what does leadership look like in the home? And if we're not capable of leading ourselves, then we're not capable of really being a leader inside the home. And so the part I want to dive into, which is it's the hard part, because leadership within, goes back to that thing of discipline and being able to lead yourself. So the implications here, Mark, this is how my mind thinks about this. So leading yourself means there's something inside of you that wants to go a certain direction, right? So maybe it's, I want to respond a certain way over a circumstance, like could be anger, could be irritation, whatever, or I have an impulse of something. Leading yourself is the ability to navigate through those circumstances that are going on the inside of you and say, no, I'm going to lead myself into a better place to get a better outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like, honestly, I mean, I think in who knows, I went to a conference with John Maxwell, and he said everything rises and falls on leadership. And as you go, they go. But I can't help to think it doesn't happen in the home as well.
Right.
A healthy home is a reflection of a healthy father, healthy husband, healthy leadership within. That's pretty I tell my clients this, and this is the only way I can relate it. The early father said the church is the first, or the home is the first church. We always say home groups are the foundation of true community, but it's really the home. And if the home's right, the community will be right, and the church will be right. And in the West, we recalibrate that and reconfigure that to say, hey, we got a lot of people coming to church, so we need home groups because we need interpersonal relationships that you can't get at church. But the next evolution is have that at home, because that's where it starts.
But how can you have it at home if you don't have it inside yourself? Meaning, if you can't personally lead your own life, how could you ever lead a home group, a church, a business, anything?
Well, I think men are hardwired for pressure and challenge. And what I do is I challenge my men that you are the priest of the home. So the priest only has 2 jobs, and those jobs are make sacrifice and don't let the fire go out. And if the priest of the home, the father, the husband, the leader, would focus their energy on make sacrifices and don't let the fire of love go out. That's their responsibility.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, because what I've learned from my journey so far and even my own life is because of situations we've been through in our life and whatever, we feel unheard, unseen, and unknown. We tend to lean into what we're not getting, and we reject what we're not giving, if that makes sense. So sacrifice means sacrifice, meaning I really need this for me, but I'm going to give it for my family. And that's a tall order. And we talk to people all the time about it.
And what do you think, like when you say sacrifices, like, can you give me examples of kind of what that would mean or look like?
I think for a man, it's sometimes to say a man doesn't have frustrations and needs and desires and whatever would be the most craziest illustration ever. But I think sometimes the man has to subject his needs for his wife's and let her vent and let her share and absorb it and validate it and experience it as secondary to his. And that's called sacrifice.
Yeah.
Meaning I need the same thing you do, but I'm willing to serve you in what you need because it's more important to our family.
Yeah. So it's not like, so it's kind of almost sacrificing yourself being first then. You're saying to serve first. It doesn't mean that you don't have emotional or other needs, but they don't come first. That everybody else comes first, which is what a true leader does. But what does one do? Here's kind of where I'm trying to drive to. What does one do when it's an internal struggle? Because I'm a firm believer that you have to lead yourself through your own internal struggles. Like when we become dependent on all our external stimuli to get us to where we want, I think that's not a good recipe for success. But if we can lead ourselves through our own emotional challenges, and I'll kind of give you an example of what I'm saying. So let's just say that I get frustrated with my family, or I get frustrated with my life, or whatever. Well, those feelings are real. And the question is, how do I lead myself through that frustration What are my leadership skills? Am I calm under those feelings of pressure? Am I consistent of staying calm when the pressure is on? You know, do I take a step back and show care and accountability in the midst of the storm? You know, those are all self-disciplines that are really difficult to learn, and they only come through practice. I feel like, Mark, you're like an expert at this.
I wish.
Of staying in a place of calmness under pressure and clear communication under pressure. You know, like you're leading, that's how I would describe leading yourself, because in those moments, Mark, there's nobody that's going to come to your rescue. If there's conflict in the home and you're ratcheted up on the inside, there's nobody going to parachute in, call time out, talk you through it, make you feel better, and then like pick up where you left off. No, you've got to do it yourself to yourself.
You're so right. I wrote this down, and I want all the people listening today to never forget this concept. Love is your benefit at my expense. Meaning what you need, love says what you need from me is more important than what I need, and I'm going to put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
But here's the mystery that people miss. It's men need a community to be able to, exactly what you said, say, this is how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And have other external men relationships that validate how you feel. And they may even articulate a way to share it back into your wife or family situation. But that's the missing link. The real missing link is we don't have friends. I mean, let's just be very butt-face honest. We don't have friends. We have golf friends and going out to eat friends, and we have friends that we work with and friends we go to the game with. But we don't, a friend is someone I can say, hey, this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I need your support. And I don't know what to do. And we don't have that. So men kind of sort of suffer in silence. And I remember hearing a message by T.D. Jakes 20, 30 years ago that was talking about the silence of the lambs. Like Eve did her thing, but Adam sacrificed his life for her. And he never got to tell his story. And I feel like men are doing the same thing. Because, you know, when the reality is a lot of times they say that when they slaughtered goats, they would scream and holler and all that. But when they slaughtered sheep for sacrifice, they wouldn't say a word.
Mm.
And sometimes I feel like a lot of men have detached from their emotional part of their life because no one's validated their feelings. And so they just put it in the back room. And we met with a couple last night, did the same thing. He just swallowed it on down, his own frustrations and feelings. And I'm like, but wait, there was a feeling with that of the conflict that happened.
Right.
There was a feeling with it, but what did you do with it? And he said, well, I just put it down. And I said, you know what? That is going to come back. It don't go away. There's no putting it down. It's like holding the balloon underwater.
Yeah.
So I think this podcast should help people to seek out, if you're a man, seek out men friendships that you can trust. And
yeah,
I don't think there's anything like it. And I hope that's what people get out of what we say, because me and you personally, I wouldn't be here without you.
Right.
Because I can't navigate this. And I have feelings and I have desires, and I don't always do it right or handle it well or whatever. But I know if I tell you, I get some kind of different insight and feedback. It makes me look at it different, and it changes my perspective, and it just shifts me out of that mode.
Yeah, and I think for me, Mark, my experience too is in the moment, I remember our conversations. Like if I'm in a moment where I feel myself maybe going off the rails or going down a path I shouldn't go, I'll remember those conversations that we've had. And so it helps me, I think it goes back to that personal leadership. It helps me navigate myself through that difficult moment, circumstance, which usually only lasts for a moment, but it gives me some maturity to get through those things that maybe, 10, 20 years ago weren't possible because I was trying to do it on my own, to your point. So I never got a chance to grow in my personal leadership because I didn't have that community to share those types of things with. That makes sense?
100%. I wanted to ask you this. I just wrote this down. Can a real leader, like especially on your level, be on an island by himself?
No. There's just no way possible.
Well, talk about that for a minute. Just in the physical and in the spiritual, how's that work?
Yeah, and I'll come from, my business experience background first. So I meet with very, very high level leaders, very big companies. I have most of my career, and they're very similar in not necessarily in their personality, but in their habits. And like the template is very similar. And to your point, one of them is they have strong teams, right? Mm-hmm. So they have the community, if you want to call it that, very, very strong teams. But here's the thing. I've said this before, and I don't mean to offend anybody out there, but you never see a extremely overweight CEO of $1 billion company.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is not that someone overweight can't do that. The reason is the mindset of a CEO is one of self-discipline, self-care, self-leadership, and health. All of those things are important for them to lead others. So it just kind of falls into place that typically they care about their own welfare, their own health. They put stock in their personal well-being, emotionally, physically, and true good leaders, even in business, spiritually. And if you put a priority in those three areas, you're just going to be a much more effective leader, whether it's in the home, in business, anywhere, in the church. It's gonna make a difference. And I've just never seen it. I mean, this is 30 plus years of experience. I've traveled the world. I've never, all high level leaders put value in themselves. They have to, or they can't lead. They want the energy to do it.
Well, it's kind of defeats the purpose, don't it? Like believe in yourself and do the job, do the work. I think from what you said, apply that to the home. What does that look like?
Yeah, Mark, I think the way you would apply that to the home is similar. Is your self-care is still important, meaning that you value being a whole person.
Mm-hmm.
You put the right attention on your health. You strive to be mentally stable. You strive to be spiritually engaged. Those things. And we've talked about how to do some of those things. But I think when you do those things, it positions you to lead in your home. It doesn't create the leadership, but it positions you in a place to lead. And so that's I think that's the key there. But you said something earlier to me about leadership in the home coming from a place of position versus how exactly did you say that? I thought it was really good.
We can lead from position because I'm the leader, or you can lead by example.
Yeah.
And John Maxwell says there's 5 levels of leadership, but the number one, the lowest level is because I'm your boss, okay? Or because I'm your husband, or because I'm the leader, or because I'm the priest of the home. That's a horrible recipe for disaster to lead people. And he goes on to say in the 5 steps of leadership, at the highest level, people just do what they're supposed to do because they believed you and understood and did it for themselves. That's like the highest level. But the first level is, I've heard it. I'm the pastor, so what? I'm the pastor. You got a problem with it? That's what I heard. Lots.
Yeah.
That's the lowest level of leadership.
Yeah, it's honestly foreign to me. It doesn't exist in business, because if you do that in business, you go nowhere. You
wouldn't be a leader, right?
Nah, because it's really about servant leadership. It's about serving those that help you get where you need to go.
I told my wife this morning, there's an old Indian or Chinese proverb, it don't matter. It says, he that thinketh he's a leader and no one's following him is only taking a walk.
I've heard that. That's so true. That's so true. But I still want to go back. I don't know why this point just drives so strong in me today, but I still go back to that self-discipline and self-leadership is not possible. Or if you don't do that, the rest of it's not possible. That's just the example I've seen. And like in your world, let's say you're a pastor or you're in ministry to serve others. If you don't have the discipline to study, to research, to improve your craft, then you're not going to be able to lead when it's time. And I don't think it's any different. That's like even in the home. Why can't we hone our skills as men and say, I'm going to hone my craft as being a husband or a father so I can lead better? What's wrong with that?
I think in the church, from what you brought up the church, because that's my world, they feel so inadequate about the academia and the spirituality of the revelation of the academia, because that only comes from incredible consecration and accountability. So they focus on personality. So they try to lead with personality, and people buy into the personality.
Yeah.
And honestly, that doesn't work at home. And so they're confused, because Jesus said the prophet is without no honor except in his hometown. What he's saying is, your personality will pay your bills out on the road preaching, but it ain't going to work at home.
Yeah.
And I think that's a gift. I do. Because they know who you really are. They know your study habits, the way you treat people, how you process things. I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's exactly what I'm saying. Is the home is where it starts, and the home is where we learn these things.
So does that happen in the business world? Like the salespeople seem to have this larger than life personality. And I met with one yesterday. I'm just like, dude, read the room. But he's a salesman, and we're trying to do like a $300,000-$400,000 deal. But in my mind, I'm like, Well, what's his family think of him? How does he lead his family?
Salespeople are a different breed, so that's a whole other subject. Because they can be renegades by trade, and it takes a special person to be a good salesperson.
Yeah, it does.
But I think just in general, like leadership in business, I mean, it's not a given because you're a good leader in business that your family's going to stay together. Because you can neglect one aspect of your life. You can neglect your home life. You can neglect your work life. You can neglect your spiritual life. But what we're saying is we should aspire as men to hone our skills in all of those areas.
Mm-hmm.
And if we hone the skills inside of ourselves with other men, I think we have a better probability of flourishing in those other three areas. Maybe said another way, Mark, if we don't hone the skills at all inside of ourselves, we have no chance. So this is a really good subject, but unfortunately, I think we're going to have to end for the week. We both have some commitments today, and unfortunately, I think we're going to have to cut this one just a bit short, but we'll pick it up next week. Just a closing thought or two on what we're discussing.
I hope that men live in an environment by leading the way that it's vulnerable and transparency, and everyone will follow suit.
Yeah.
We did an exercise last Friday at our home. We invited people over for dinner, and we just did an exercise in real vulnerability, and people actually opened up because that's what we do. Let's be honest. And I remember looking at all of our friends that were there and going, "How hard was this?" It wasn't hard at all. It wasn't hard to say, "This is how I really feel." So I want to leave this thought. Bishop Callistos Ware was an old bishop in the Episcopalian Church, I think. He was a revolutionary. And he wrote an article about submission to authority. And he said submission to authority in the early church view is a gift. It's not assumed. So if you assume leadership by your position and title, you may not be a leader. You won't have people that submit to the vision and purpose. But he said real leadership is when the people say, I see your vision, I see your purpose, I want to follow, pursue, and help, and here's my gift of submission. So he always called it the gift of submission. So true authority comes from the people that give you the gift to, I believe in you, I want you to lead us.
Yeah. Which is what we want to happen in our homes as well. Well, Mark, that's a great place to jump off. So we just ask you to like our podcast, comment on it, and until next week, this is Breaking Biscuits. We love you, and we'll continue this conversation.
Yeah, great one.